Today, the government launches the great Brexit repeal bill. I applaud them for doing so at last, as we are finally seeing some practical movement towards a Brexit. The government's plan, they say, is simple. It's to incorporate tens of thousands of EU legislation, whether EU directive or the more onerous regulations, into UK law. Now for me, I can say I don't like all EU laws. I mean, after all, that's why I campaigned to leave. I don't like the European arrest warrant. I don't like a lot of financial services regulations which impact our industries. I don't like the power of the European Court of Justice. However, I recognise that we already abide by those rules, that business have incorporated them into their plans and systems, and that for business, at those agreements, there will need to be a period when we accept the rules and then, this is the important part, campaign to remove those we don't like through our own parliament. Isn't that what democracy is about? Now the media have said there will be an almighty fight about the great Brexit repeal bill, that the Remainers will seek to block it, stop it. Oh, you know and get the drift. It's part of the anti-Brexit movement, so we must keep fighting on, taking them on, the levers, beaches, etc., etc. So, for those simple-minded Remainers, this means that all the EU laws you loved, supported and voted for now become part of UK law. But hey, they're now governed by the UK Parliament. You have what you always wanted, and now you have got it. Except there is a difference, isn't there? Now that it is in the UK law, the Remainers' masters in the EU can't draft new legislation and with the help of their EU-friendly supporters, force those rules on us in the UK. They can't cry and appeal to the European courts if by a small minuscule chance a government doesn't wait or want one of those rules or doesn't implement it. And the big bully, the ECJ, tells us the UK must act not like a naughty schoolchild by disobeying the teacher, but doing as they're told. And from now on, if we find a law is not helpful to Britain, holds us back, is unfair, we can seek to repeal it, such as having an immigration system fit for the 21st century that is flexible and forward-thinking. That is why they are so upset. Their beloved EU is no longer the boss. Those dangerous UK voters and citizens are. You know, the ones they call stupid, thick, didn't know what they're talking about, didn't listen to their experts or snobbish, well-heeled, high-living, well-remunerated politicians and corporate business backers. Those like Caroline Lucas who say the bill hands extraordinary powers to ministers and fails to offer security on environmental law enforcement. It incorporates into UK law all the laws Caroline voted for in the EU Parliament, where they offer no security on environment law either. On her view, the EU Parliament is a dangerous parliament. Or you have the devolution twins, Nicola Sturgeon and Carwyn Jones, who issue a press release saying that the bill does not return powers to the devolved administrations after withdrawal from the EU. Well, blow me down with a feather. But doesn't leaving the EU first mean that laws have to be stopped from the EU, incorporated into the UK, and then those covered by the devolution agreements given to the devolved parties under existing laws? Sounds simple to me. Or organisations like the Wildlife Trust in a tweet this morning showing a graph of the number of laws affected by Brexit by policy area and complains that agriculture, fisheries, environment, consumers and health protections have the most laws. I didn't see the Wildlife Trust complain when almost 312 laws are enacted by the EU on the UK agricultural industry, or 1,512 laws on the UK fisheries industry. Now that Parliament is bringing those laws back within the powers of the UK government, you would have thought organisations like the Wildlife Trust would be delighted that they now have more influence and power to affect the laws impacting agriculture, fishing and our own environment, rather than having to traipse to Brussels to lobby civil servants and MEPs. Other organisations like Liberty, so-called looking after our liberty, have said that we're abandoning our human rights. Nonsense. Our human rights will continue to be protected. The Lib Dem putative leader, Vince Cable, who says Brexit will never happen, over my dead body. George Six Jobs Osborne, gloating from a well-paid media job and attacking the Prime Minister Theresa May like a spoilt child, whilst Remainers gain control over all the parliamentary select committees. Yes, Brexit is under intense attack from the losers, the establishment, the elitists, those who look down their noses on ordinary people whilst pretending they care. It's time for the leavers to fight back. Support the government's Great Reform Bill, but join up once more and get our grassroots campaigns back into full swing so that we can continue to get the Brexit that we deserve.